His whole life is sort of this play between East and West.
He hated the oppression of little people, and which he saw everywhere. In the Japanese occupation, the Boxer Rebellion, the foreign powers going into China. He just thought all of that was wrong.
To live the life he wanted to live, he had to fight for it. He really had to put it out there and really walk the walk.
I mean, it is easy for me to put on a show and be cocky and be flooded with a cocky feeling and then feel like pretty cool and all that. Or I can make all kinds of phony things, you see what I mean? Blinded by it. Or I can show you some really fancy movement. But to express oneself honestly, not lying to oneself, and to express myself honestly, that, my friend, is...
Well, I think everyone probably remembers the first time that they ever saw a Bruce Lee film or television show and watching the amazing physicality that he embodied. But the more you get to learn about his spirit and his multi-dimensional personality as a human being, it's even more inspirational. And there's a great film out called I Am Bruce Lee that gives you some insight into the man. And we are very happy to be joined by Shannon Lee, daughter of Bruce Lee, executive producer, and Linda Lee Cadwell.
How are you both?
Hey, guys.
We're good, thank you.
Now,
Thanks for joining
executive
us.
producer, you've seen the movie. Yes. Linda, last night there was a
First
premiere
time,
here in
yeah.
Vancouver. Your very first time seeing it. What was that like for you?
You know, I didn't know what to expect because I have seen numerous projects about Bruce, and I must say that this film exceeded my expectations. It was thrilling. It really let Bruce tell his story, and I'm just thrilled that he can share his philosophy, and then how it impacted all the people who were in.
Did you know the scope of the film and how it was put together, and that there would be input from all these other people about the influence that Bruce had on their life?
Yes, I knew the general structure of the film, but I thought the interviews of the people were just terrific.
Yeah.
And that's only a few people. There are thousands and millions of people around the world that have been influenced by Bruce.
And Shannon, why was it the right time for you to do a film like this? Of course, there's been countless documentaries done about your father, but why the right timing for you?
You know, it's interesting. When I first started talking to Network Entertainment about this piece, I really was questioning, really another documentary, because, you know, there have been so many. But, you know, after seeing their work and knowing the caliber and the quality of the work that they had done in the past, and then their vision for this, I really thought this is perfect, you know, because it really is going to present the totality of the man and have people understand who he was, where he came from, what his influence is today. And that is very meaningful to me, especially with all the projects we have going on and, you know, the things that we're trying to get done. And
I found it did such a, I mean, obviously because it's done by you, but what a great focus to learn about his philosophy, understanding where he came from to come to that point. I had never seen it from that perspective before. Was it tough to narrow it down, or?
You know, we're so lucky because we have this fabulous interview that my father did with Pierre Burton, Canada's own.
Canadian kid.
And he himself articulates so much of his own point of view and his own philosophy, and it weaves so beautifully in with all of the influence that we hear and all the personal stories that we hear, that it really painted the picture beautifully. I think.
Well, and Linda, you see the evolution, and that's what I think I attach myself to, and I know in your own life philosophy, that idea of continual growth. You're never static, and in every aspect of Bruce's life, whether it was the martial arts aspect or the spiritual growth or the intellectual growth, he never really stopped growing at all.
Absolutely, and that was one of his firm beliefs, is that his life was always a process of maturing, a process of learning, never arriving and staying at one point. He was always growing, examining his life and finding what worked best for him, his own way.
It's funny though, as a human being though, Shannon, I mean, you always have that expectation that at some point you'll reach the aha moment, you know, like, I got it, I nailed it, finally.
Everybody thinks, if only I could do this, then I'll be there, but...
It's amazing to see someone who everyone understands was brilliant, right? And yet never being satisfied with where he was, always yearning to do a little bit more. and to
Always
try
pushing the envelope, always going to the next
Had you
place.
watched these interviews before? I mean, not the people, but like the Pierre Burton interview and a lot of that.
Yes, I was 4 when my father passed away. I had seen the Pierre Burton interview, and I really love it and cherish it. I think it's such a masterful, interview with him. But my own memories of him are very subtle, sort of glimpses, more about just sort of the feeling of the time and all that sort of thing. So it's really, I'm very lucky and fortunate that all of this material exists. And even that he left behind so many notes and thoughts on his own process that I feel like he
Never
can...
mind all his work that we see in film as
Right.
well.
But the library full of annotated and books with
Now
notes.
we've talked about the Pierre Burton interview, but we haven't talked about the people who were interviewed in the documentary. I mean, we're seeing some of the world's best athletes. I had never, of course, being a girl, typical girl, put the connection together to MMA and really how much of a pioneer he was in the sports that we see today.
Yes.
Why did you choose the people that you did to interview as subjects in the movie?
Yeah, well, certainly with MMA, we really wanted to get that point of view because, there is a correlation between what my father was doing and what's happening now with the UFC and all those wonderful things. So we wanted people to understand that. And then also, it's wonderful that people like Kobe Bryant and Paul Rodriguez, who's a professional skateboarder, are so influenced because my father, really, when he was talking about his philosophy, it was more about the philosophy of movement, more than, and how to live your life. And he applied that to martial arts, but it can be applied to anything, is what we're learning.
He was a good dancer. Yes.
He was amazing.
And a handsome devil.
Yes.
He was. He, as you know, he was the cha-cha champion of Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And he carried in his wallet a little note card that had listed 108 different cha-cha steps.
You're kidding me. Yeah, and they go and break it down. I mean, the whole thing is so beautiful, Linda, but I can't help because, there's a very similar situation in my family. And I was talking to you guys about it before. My father passed away the same year. I was the same age as Shannon was. And has it been a struggle for you, Linda? I mean, over the years, because people obviously want to talk about this man, this legend, this brilliant human being.
It's been an evolution, I must say, because when Bruce died in 1973, his latest film, Enter the Dragon, had not even been released.
Yeah.
So he was a big star in Hong Kong, but the world didn't know about him. And then when the movie was released and it was very well received and popular, nobody knew that it was going to still be alive almost 40 years later.
No kidding. And in the cult film book that you see Bruce's movies. Which,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so the evolution of people getting to know Bruce has been the most interesting thing over all these decades. Because at first people would just think of him as a martial artist or an actor or even just a guy who had stunt doubles and everything.
Right.
They didn't know he was the real thing. And so the unfolding of his entire personality, his depth, has been very rewarding to us. And this film really exhibits that.
And the other thing is, being that it's done by the family, you address the mystery of his death, put it to rest, this is what happened, there you go. And people can watch the movie to hear it straight from the family, which I think is very nice.
Right.
You guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And congratulations on all the great work that you do. The Bruce Lee Foundation, of course, carries on his philosophy and his legacy, working on a museum right now, and that's
We are, yes,
getting
the Bruce
close.
Lee Action Museum in the Seattle, Washington area.
Really
so.
close to us, so people
Yeah,
can
easy drive.
visit.
That'd be awesome.
Now you have to see this documentary. It is an absolutely amazing tribute to Bruce Lee. It's called I Am Bruce Lee, and it will screen at Cineplex Theaters March 8th and 17th, right across Canada. If you want to check it out, you can also go to the website to find out more information about where the film will screen near you.
Very nice. We're going to take a break.